So two questions. One is on adjacencies and diversification. So the question to Ajay is really, what's the tipping point for an organization to decide that they ought to move into an adjacency? Is it, reaching a critical market share, a profit share, or is it driven by the market context, or market context in the sense the market for the category is declining, or is it, there's this next big opportunity which is too big to miss? So this is question number one. And very quickly, question number two, it's on value appropriation. So, with the, with the mega e-commerce players like the Amazon, Flipkarts, and Reliance's, trying to kind of sink in the claws across categories, do you see the value appropriation shifting to the e-commerce players vis-a-vis, even vis-a-vis traditional manufacturers, and of course the channels? That's one. And the other part, in terms of value appropriation, we find a lot of people who are into categories, trying to move into services. So for example, a paint company would now like to do interiors of homes. So do you see a shift in terms of, the value moving from, the guys who make, maybe the furniture for homes, to the guys who really were paint companies but are now offering interior services? So these were my two questions. Thank you.
I don't know if I have the definitive answer to the questions, but I'll give it a shot very quickly. On your second question, yes, a lot of people are moving away from offering mere products to bundle solutions. Adding on services onto their products so that you are selling solutions. And that's great in concept. And I'll go back to what Suresh said earlier. That's great in concept, but the execution part is where there are issues in using a bundled solution strategy, because your whole culture, your whole people, your whole mindset is focused around a product. Now you have to get into the business of services and products, and you don't know how to execute on services. So that bundle strategy becomes a bit of an issue for purely product companies. For example, 3M for the longest time tried to get into software business, but every time they would look at their balance sheet, the hardware people would say, our gross margins are 80% or whatever, and your gross margins are 10%, and they would laugh at that. And so that just didn't take root. So it's the same thing with services and products, bundling and so forth. On your part B of the second question, some value is in fact going to be migrating to online, no question about it. But the stronger potential with digital technologies is how much value you can create and then appropriate for yourself. So technologies can be used. Let me just leave it at that. And as to your first question, in my opinion, it's all of the above. You move into adjacencies because your current market might be threatened, or you are looking to grow faster. But the key word I would emphasize is there needs to be some adjacency. And in my view, adjacency simply means you can leverage something that you have or could have in the adjacent market, which is what I think Thomas was mentioning. There's no point going to a new market unless you can leverage your existing value proposition or technology or some competence, something in that other market. Otherwise, why should you be the one going there rather than a startup going there? So that adjacency word, I would equate that with a bad word now, synergy, but there needs to be some synergy. Otherwise, why are you doing it? Let me stop there.
Thank you.
If I could just add, I think with Mr. Anil Verma's question, the challenge is that if you think about most of our organizations, we have 80% of the people thinking only about the present. That means, today's income, tomorrow's quarterly results, the 6 months, whatever you're going to produce. So people are focused on solving problems for today, right? very few people are really thinking about how can I grow my business faster through new products and services, because that's the only way you'll do it. So new products, new services. But a very few people, you call them strategy guys, and they're about 10 to 15%, some people in product marketing, some people in engineering, etc. So therefore, there's only about 10, 15. Then you start thinking about, so that's what I call tomorrow. And then you start thinking about the day after tomorrow. Who's going to come and take over my business, like an Amazon or a Flipkart, and what am I going to do? No company actually has anybody worth their salt, except perhaps a very good CEO who will think about those problems. And that's where part of our challenge today is that we get taken by surprise, because we're living 80% of us in the present. There's very few people who's thinking about tomorrow, which is about new products, new services, and very few people who are thinking about what's going to come, which is going to just take away our business. Can we think about a different business model, different adjacencies, completely different product as a service? Very few people even think about that. So sometimes structural is what, it's not lack of imagination. I think it's the lack of structure and amount of time which you can spend around that. That's why you need a McKinsey and a BCG.